This is Umar for BoxNation. We're very, very hot your call, as always. Needs some ACs in here, especially when Midge is on. Sam Noakes, relentless, dismantled his man tonight, would you say?
Yeah, just took him apart. Wasn't the most spectacular, but when you've got someone who's not particularly throwing much back and spoiling quite a bit of Sam's work, it was more of a grind it out and use a bit of ring craft and a bit of experience to just to make sure you're scoring points. Make sure you're ticking the rounds over. And fortunately, a bit of dogged determination paid off, and he didn't fancy no more. I'm not surprised. I mean, his eye was a bit of a mess, and listen, he's a tough old stalwart of European boxing. Another tough Italian that's come over here and tried to upset the apple cart. And fortunately for us and for Sam and for everybody, he's failed in his mission.
Do you think next year is realistic for a world title? Richie Woodall, I just spoke to him, he said, I think he's ready now, Sam.
I think he's ready now against... I mean, it's such a strong division. I know Sam would... Well, it's all about what's right for Sam. And what's, is it the right fight for him? Is it financially viable for him to go and take that fight? What's the consequences if it doesn't go right for him? And what's the next step for him if it does go right for him? Because once you finish to win a world title in this division, there's no plateauing. You've got to keep banging away at it's a big name game once you win one. So we're all, if one presents itself, we obviously have to evaluate the situation. But we're not calling anyone out. We're not shouting from the rooftops for world title shots and all the rest of it. Sam's the WBO international champion. He's got a very good ranking with the WBO. If Baranchik wanted to give a voluntary, we'd grab that with both hands at this stage. However, whilst that's not being discussed, and it isn't being discussed, we will continue defending. Sam will continue to defend the vast array of belts that he's got on his mantelpiece, which is obviously British, Commonwealth, European and WBO International. So we've got plenty of options, plenty of fights to go and choose from, and I think I know he's in a very, very good position to continue gaining experience. So when that opportunity does come for a world title, it makes sure that he's gathered as much experience as possible. Whether that be in 1, 2, 4, 5, 6 fights time. Who knows? They might, you might start getting unifications and all the rest of it soon. So it's, there's no one's got a crystal ball. So what we can deal with is what we've got in front of us, which is, like I said, 4 very, very decent titles around Sam's waist. So and he's got options.
How many times have you and your dad discussed the fight with Mark Chamberlain?
Quite a few. And listen, if that fight can be made.
Does it need to be for a world title?
No, I don't think it does, because it's been talked about. The danger we have with that, though, is it becoming over talked about. So that's why I haven't mentioned it, to be honest. But it's got to be addressed. They are the two top lightweights in this country. I would go far as to say that Sam's number 1 in Europe. Mark's obviously not far behind. I know. Obviously, Mark's got his own career path at the moment. He's a BC Silver champion, and he's the BC Silver champion, and doing his own thing. He's very well thought of in Saudi Arabia, so he's not going to want to risk a fight against Sam Noakes unless it's for the highest amount of money and for the highest accolades possible. So when that fight does happen, it'll be a monster. But until then, let's just keep talking. Let's just keep speculating as to what it could be for and when it will be.
There's some very immature people at Queensbury, aren't there?
Andy Ayling just got his arse out right in front of me, and that was professionalism of the highest level.
You did very well there. Very, very well, Francis.
And it's really spotty, by the way.
Spoke to your man Moses Itauma tonight. Spoke very well, actually. He's really improving in that department. I mentioned to him about Joseph Parker and where this talk came from. So do you want to just clear that up, Francis?
Came from me.
Yeah.
Came from me. I threw it out there to see what the feedback would be, and it was good. It was good. A few people in Parker's camp said, "Well, listen, it's a fight that can be done." And listen, you're always going to test the water to see what the reaction of I like to see what everyone's reaction is. I like, a few people are like going, oh, it's too soon for him. Oh, other people say, perfect fight. The most important person's reaction was Moses, and he nodded and gave me a smile. And we can do it. Let's do it. I'm not sure what he said to you earlier on, but I think he's pretty straightforward in the fact that he wants to fight the biggest fights available. Does he need more experience? I think he should have more experience, but does he need it? Who knows? Everyone thought he was going to go, and I'm not comparing Marius Wax to Joseph Parker, obviously, but he's surprising everybody with every fight. So I think definitely a couple more step-up fights, and I think we could then talk seriously about it. I don't see any reason why Moses can't be fighting for a world title within 6 fights, and how quickly those 6 fights get rattled off, who knows?
Last one, I spoke to Fraser Clark in the week and I said, what were your thoughts when he knocked out Marius Wack? And you had Moses promoter, your dad, saying, look, we want Fraser Clark. And he said, look, I get it, Moses needs big fights. He gave him a lot of respect, but he did also make the point, why was my name being mentioned and no other British heavyweight? So do you want to address that?
I think maybe because there was a direct comparison immediately with Watch. And maybe because we give Fraser a lot of respect, and it would be a good fight, and we all know that it would be a challenging fight for Moses. They've had similar amount of fights as well, so I think that may play a factor into it as well. Listen, I think I love Fraser. I think he's an absolute terrific guy. I gave Fraser the highest amount of respect for what he said about Moses after he had those 2 points wins. Yeah. And people were getting on Moses back in his 3rd and 4th fight saying, oh, he's not the real deal. And Fraser basically turned around and said, why don't everyone fuck off and leave him alone? He's 18 years old. Let him do his thing. So there is no disrespect to Fraser Clark whatsoever. I mean, I think of him in the highest regard, but I just think it would be a terrific all British heavyweight dust-up. That's saying that there's also other British heavyweights that would also make for fantastic.
Could he fight Fabio, considering they both train with Ben Davison?
There's always ways to work stuff out, isn't there? But I think to answer your question, I think for me personally, I can't speak for my dad, I can't speak for anybody else. For me personally, I think it's a similar amount of fights. I think it's also that if you look at Fab, for example, he's knocking 20 fights, isn't he? Whereas Fraser's, what's he, 9?
Yeah, 9 fights.
So, Moses is 10. So I think that's probably the reason for it. They're both at a similar stage of their professional careers in terms of the number of fights. They both have probably 2 championship fights, is that right? So you're not far off in terms of experience. Obviously, Fraser's had one higher level fight against Fabio Wardley for the British title. But, Moses is an exceptional talent, so maybe that makes up for that. I just think it'd be a great fight. It's not the be all and end all, it was just a name that was thrown out there, and it's no disrespect at all. So, like I said, I think Fraser's a terrific guy, terrific fighter, and I know he's going to go and do big things.
We're in a freakish position with Moses, but in a completely good way. So
it's nuts, because anyone you say, anyone you mention, they're going to say, well, they're going to say, well, I'm streets of, he's only 19, or I'm ahead of him. But we are talking about him with the Fraser Clarks, and no one's laughing at the room. We are talking about him potentially fighting Joseph Parker within or for a world title at some point next year. No one's laughing that at the room. You mentioned Fabio. No one's laughing that at the room. These are seasoned professionals, and people are mentioning Moses Itauma's name within the same breath as nearly being ready for these guys. And when I say nearly, there are a few of them we take now, and then a few of them I do think he needs a bit more experience for. When you're looking at guys, and I'm not going to go into names, but guys who are ranked in the 20s in box rate, who have said, absolutely not, I don't need that. And these are guys who are 24 and 0. They're guys who are 18 and 1. They're seasoned professionals who, and I get they probably don't want to get beat by a 19-year-old, but I don't think it's about getting beat. I think it's in the fashion that they're only about getting beat in. And Moses is tough to match him. And the danger is obviously the danger is rushing him, and that's obviously where we've got to all put our heads together and make sure that we pick the right fights for him at the right time.
Absolutely, I'm sure you will, Francis. Appreciate your time.
Top man, thanks mate.